Alright. That did not go. That did not go down right. Hello, Wolfie. Yeah, I'm doing alright, just working on this last commission. Evan just was in the mood to stream today. Yeah, this is gonna take me a while. Hopefully I can have it done by tomorrow. Not sure how long this stream will be. And sometimes I feel streams actually slow me down to depending on what I'm doing. But I try to, you know, put in some stream time and all that, and then try to be productive at the same time. Like, it might be just me thinking that way. It might not actually be true, but to me, it sometimes feels like I'm slower. But I'm also trying to, like, stream more often. Hey, Jet. Yeah, and I know that time zones are always going to be an issue for someone. Like, obviously I can't cover it for everybody. Yeah, and luckily these are saved, like, Most of the time I just put them on YouTube afterwards. So if there's something you missed, or even if it's still on Twitch, you can always just, you know, watch the rest of the stream if you like. So, no worries. Just got a dick in his mouth. Then that is a very awkward looking dick. Skylar's dick does not look anything close to that. But yeah, her placement on this screen is gonna change because mostly just drawing her in. So she'll likely move around once I figure out where everything else is supposed to be. Oh, you mean the barbs? Yeah. Just the thing he has. And this is gonna be one of those constantly redrawing poses. Just to get it right. Change it later, I will. I think I'll only go for like 2 hours for this stream, since it's not part of the usual time. And again, my time is always all over the place, so I don't know. But I think 2 hours will be fine. If not, then there's always tomorrow. Mostly just trying to get her arm and hand placements This is a commission. So yeah, this is the last commission. Oh, yeah, we definitely need to change all this. Yeah, and obviously it's mostly just on me because I tackle too many. Well, it's not entirely tackling too many. It's more just a lot of it was just kind of the same thing over and over. So due to the theme being pretty much the same thing, kind of just burned me out faster. So that's why I'm pulling further away from doing commissions often. So if I do open up, I'll probably only take like 1 or 2. And then they will likely be auction based. But that's way in the future. I'm not gonna be doing commissions for a few months. Or I might do 2 years again like I did before. Who knows? Well, yeah, like basically nearly all of them were weight gain stuff. I think like only because I took 23, which obviously I shouldn't have taken that much to begin with, but that was my decision. But out of the 23, only 3 of them were not weight gain focused. So the other 20 were all weight gain. Or just, fat or BBW, whatever you want to call it. So it just kind of like, really? We've all, like, I can do more than this. So it kind of just burned me out. And I'd rather, if I'm going to be drawing that stuff, I'd rather just, draw for myself, use it for comics and whatnot, than to work on them and sometimes not feel anything when I'm working on them, because sometimes when working on certain commissions, it's just kind of like, It's kind of like thinking of it as a job at that point. It's like it's the job mentality, and that's what kind of you lose that spark. And obviously, I don't want to lose that spark, so I feel that maybe I should just not do commissions, or at least not as many or not as often anymore. Because I don't know, it just doesn't feel inspiring at all. Sometimes, very rarely, are certain commissions like, okay, this was a good idea, this was fun, and then other times it's kind of like going through the motions, kind of like looking at it or looking at whatever it is I have to work on and go like, I gotta get this done type of mentality, and I don't want to keep thinking that way. So I think it's just best to keep the quality and stuff like that it's probably best that I just don't do commissions anymore, or at least don't do as many and don't do them as often. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I'm glad you liked what I did with Mitzi. But yeah, it's just the feel of burnout and the feel of it being treated as a job at that point that pulls me out of it. And I'll probably change her arms a little later, using to get the rest of her mapped out. But yeah, because that's what happened the last time that I did commissions 2 years ago, where it just felt uninspiring. And it even got to the point where decided to cancel and refund a person who had commissioned me because I just wasn't feeling it. And that was like the first time I ever did that. So that was when I felt like, yeah, if I'm doing that, then I need to at least take a break from commissions. And so that's when I took a break for 2 years. And so when I opened up again, I was like, okay, let's give this a shot one more time. And that's when I was just like, okay, I'm probably not gonna do this anymore. And it wasn't like any commission specifically, it was just more like nearly all of them were the same thing. Yeah, like I'm still gonna draw weight gain stuff and all that, but I want to draw it in an I want to draw it the way that I want to, like if there's like a specific, you know, piece that I want to make and stuff like that, and characters and stuff. I think I'm just better off doing what I want to do than doing it in a commission. And it's probably just because, you know, again, like the whole spark thing, it's like when you get the inspiration to draw a particular piece, it hits way different than when you're commissioned to do it. And then when I'm in control of, you know, doing whatever it is I want to do, then it feels more direct, I guess. I don't know. Like, I guess inspiring is the best way to put it. Yeah, like if I do open up, it'll just be like I take like 1 or 2 commissions, and then they'll likely be auction based, because that's the only way it can be fair and not just leave it up to whoever can grab it first type of thing. Because like, let's just say hypothetically I only open once a month and I only take like 2 commissions per month, then it's just gonna be a race to who can grab it first. Especially if I don't put like a time of when I would open for commissions, then it's just gonna be people sitting there hovering, waiting and waiting and waiting. And it'd be better off as an auction. Yeah, I know auction has its own limits of how fair it can be, because, you know, it just boils down to how much someone's gonna spend type of thing. But it's definitely more fair in terms of like, all right, if people really want it, then here it is. Like more committed, I guess would be the way to phrase it. But if there's a even more fair way to do it, then I'll tackle that. But at the moment, I think auction is probably the best way to go about it. And that's assuming that I even do commissions at all. So. Yeah. Yeah, like there's a lot of stuff that I want to use for characters and all that I'm just gonna save those ideas for comics and all that. Like, there's definitely a lot of ideas I want to do. I just got to get there, and unfortunately the commissions have definitely been pulling me away from working on my own stuff. So I'm trying to get through them all so I can be done with them. Yeah, like obviously if you're already committed to doing commissions and you don't plan on, you know, refunding, definitely get them done, so that way, you know, they're off your plate and stuff like that. And then once you're done, you just gotta figure out and decide if you're gonna, you know, do any more, and then move from there. Have I played Street Fighter 6? I played a little bit. I have it. I just haven't had a chance to put too much time in it. Mostly been playing JP because he's the most interesting of the starting roster to me. But the character I want to actually play is Aki, just because I like her design. But she won't be out until like towards the end of the year, I think they said. So once she releases, that will be the character I actually want to main. I just gotta get used to the inputs because a lot of the inputs are like really direct. You can't like buffer as much as you used to in older Capcom games. I might be using that term wrong, but the way I'm thinking of it is, you know, you're trying to input something as much as possible so it will come out. I just gotta get used to that because that was like older Capcom games, and I gotta know that I can't do that all the time. I hate double motions, but if I have to use it, then I'll use it. Right now, I'm assuming, like, this is just my personal guess. My guess is that Aki's probably going to be poison based, similar to Fang, but she's probably going to be like better, more interesting Fang. Like, I have no basis on this guess, but that's just my thoughts on it, just because of the way her name is spelled. I was like, okay, Fang was like that too, so I wonder if she's also poison based. But that's just me. I have zero clue if that's going to be the case. The odds of having a chubby girl character in Street Fighter is probably really low, to be honest. Like, we're more likely to get Rufus back than a female character who's chunky. Hell, at this point, I'm surprised they don't just put Darkstalker's characters into Street Fighter. I think one of the reasons, well, maybe not one of the reasons, I think like one possibility of why Darkstalkers hasn't come back yet is because of characters like Felicia. Because it's like she's literally a naked character, but I'm curious if they do bring back Darkstalkers. I'm very curious on what they'll do with her. Like, if they'll just keep her the same, which most likely they will, especially if she has a classic costume. But I'm wondering if they're gonna like up her design to make her less revealing, which would suck if that was the case. But I'm just curious on if they would do that. But then, like, she could be borderline Cammy when it comes to her old school design, because Cammy's like showing just enough where it's not a problem. And the same could be said for Felicia. Oh, really? That was a concept? Well, I mean, if there's a concept, then I guess it's way more possibility than zero. Oh yeah, Felicia in the nun outfit would be great. Okay, I'm just gonna put this on her. But yeah, I think at this point, if Capcom is having such a big struggle of committing to Darkstalkers, which who knows, they could possibly bring it back due to how successful their other games have been as of late, especially with the RE engine. It's possible that they could try to do Darkstalkers, but if not, then they're probably just better off bringing them into Street Fighter, because they did that with Akira from Rival Schools. So if they're not willing to make like separate games for these characters anymore and they're just going to put them in Street Fighter, then you might as well just commit and do it. And I do not like that. Let's focus on the main body first. Because they've already done that with Final Fight. They kind of did that with Strider. Because of Zeku, or Zeku. So at this rate, they might as well just convert all of their fighting, or well, maybe not all of them, but like they might as well pick what they want to put into Street Fighter and just commit to it. Because like Street Fighter already has supernatural stuff anyway, so they might as well just say Darkstalkers is a part of it. Fat Furries. That would make way more sense if there was a furry character to play as. Alas, there is not. Like, you know damn well if there was a furry character in the game, I would definitely be playing as that character. I need to brush up on Blanka. I have zero clue what the hell his deal is anymore. I was like, was he an experiment or something? I don't even remember. I need to brush up on him. Because some of his design, or some of him just doesn't make sense anymore. Nikali was such a letdown. They built him up to be like he was supposed to be like a main focus for Street Fighter V, to the point where, you know, his face was the logo of the game. He had like he was part of the intro and stuff like that. Like, they built him up so much, and then in the actual story he amounts to nothing. He doesn't do anything. They're just like, oh, he's an entity that shows up when there's gonna be war and blah 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 blah. I'm like, that is so lame. You didn't get to do jack. Like, that was such a letdown character. Yeah, I'll have to look up Blanka, because I'm just gonna go in a deep dive just to read up on him. Because I feel certain things just don't make sense anymore. Because it's like, okay, why does he still have that chain buckle on his leg? And he clearly has a mom. She shows up in the stage that he's in. So it's like, okay, would she have him be wearing that the entire time? And it's not like he can't take it off. I'm sure there's something that can take it off, and he's met the other characters who I'm pretty sure are capable of taking it off of him. This is the hard part. So based on how he's standing, I have to decide how I'm gonna have Marcy sitting. Because I could say she's leaning over, but I still need to position her properly. So fix things when necessary. Charlie coming back as a semi-undead was pretty cool, though. Charlie Nash. Yeah, like they almost treated like it seemed like Necalli was being treated as like a semi cause for like Ryu becoming evil Ryu type of thing, or you know the Dark Hado nonsense. Which the Dark Hado is confusing because it's like, okay, does the Dark Hado just exist if you learn that particular fighting style, and you have to like overcome whatever nonsense in order to get over it, like Gouken did, assuming he even had to worry about it in the first place. And then Ken doesn't seem to have this issue. The only thing close enough to Ken having this problem is Violent Ken, and that has to do with psycho power and all that, which would be interesting if the whole storyline between him and JP turns Ken into Violent Ken. Like that would be an interesting route to go. But the only time it seems to even show up as an issue is with Ryu, and I guess to an extension Sakura. And then obviously Akuma is like the, you know, living definition of the Dark Hado. But other than that, it was just kind of like, okay, how is this an issue? Or why did this become a problem when learning this style? Or it could just be an inherent thing, where it's like, okay, because Ryu is learning all this stuff, it's just awakening something inside of him, I guess. Which is kind of lame, honestly, if it's just something he already had. Like, it would, to me, it makes more sense if it's something that happens to you when you start learning that particular fighting style. And you have to, like, overcome it. And it could, like, be a degree of how skilled you are at the technique. And it's possible that Ken is unaffected of it because of, you know, how his mentality of how he does things. So it could be just, you know, person by person thing. And I am going to have to hide him for now. We're just gonna have to adjust her as we go through. Because, like, I like the idea of Oni, where Oni was just like, okay, Oni is the possibility for Akuma if he just went super deep into the Dark Hado, and that's the result. Because that's basically the evil Akuma of Akuma. Or Shin Akuma, however you want to take it. But yeah, Necalli was just super shafted when it came to the story. Because he didn't get any closure. He was just there. Like, Necalli could have just been, like, somebody who had, like, the Dark Hado and just, you know, went crazy. Like, he couldn't control it and he just went mad. Like, they could have did that with him or something. And he doesn't have to, like, shoot fireballs or anything. He could just do what he does in the game, but they could have just made it more interesting than just, he shows up when the world's going to be in destruction or whatever nonsense. I was like, really? He's just a thing that just shows up and leaves? There's like nothing interesting about that. And then one of the problems with Street Fighter V's the story is that they treat it more as like an Avengers thing. And that's like another thing that gets me with certain fighting games, is where they always treat it like it's like this giant op where it's like, oh, we're on a mission to do blah blah blah. I'm like, really? You guys just literally grabbed everybody off the streets and stuff like that and it doesn't even seem like this makes any sense of why they're here. Like, obviously there's a character that gathers them together, but when you're looking at them, is like you would never imagine them just being on a team like that. Like, it makes way more sense just to be like, up there, here's this fighting tournament for whatever goal that they're there for. Like, obviously Ryu's there for strong opponents and all that, because, you know, that's the stereotypical strong guy main character thing. At least Ryu's not dumb. Like, that would suck if he was just treated as like the stereotypical shonen protagonist who gets really, really, really strong over time, but he's like really fucking dumb for some reason. So at least he wasn't treated like that. Yeah, I always find it interesting though, for like nearly every single Street Fighter, the new character that they add is always a blonde-haired American character for some reason. Because in Street Fighter 2, that was Guile. For Street Fighter 3, that was Alex. For Street Fighter 4, that was what was his name? Abel. And then Street Fighter 5, it was not Charlie. Although you could technically count Charlie, I guess. But then again, Charlie should be for Street Fighter Alpha or Zero. I'll have to look at the roster again. I'm pretty sure there's somebody in Street Fighter 5. Let me take a quick look. No. Like, it's always a blonde American, and I just found that interesting. I guess Nash would be the one, but he's not a new character. Unless you want to count, like, Ed, but I don't think he's American. Then again, we don't know, because he was a person from Shadowloo. So I'd say it's between Ed and Nash. Even though Nash isn't new. And then I guess you can count Luke, but he's also supposed to be from Street Fighter 6 initially. So in Street Fighter 6, it would be Luke, technically. But yeah, it's just one of those things I just kind of noticed. I was like, huh. I wonder why they kept doing that. And I don't have any problems with it. I was just wondering what the pattern was. Like, was there like a reason for that? Because it wasn't like Ken was going anywhere. He's blonde American. So it wasn't like they needed to fit a quota or anything for that. Yeah, I guess in terms of like main character, I guess Nash would have to fit that for Street Fighter 5. Even though he's not technically a new character, but he does fit that. But I would say that was definitely his spot in Alpha. Yeah, and there's also Cody. But he was like the main character for Final Fight, so he already had his time. And if we count Final Fight as part of, I mean, it is already, but if Final Fight is part of Street Fighter, then yeah, you get another blonde guy being the main character. Which again, there's no problem with it. I'm just wondering if there's like a reason behind it. Because, you know, Ryu is always the main character for each game. So obviously, you know, he gets top billing, but I was just curious on why every time they add in a new character, it's always a blonde American. And usually they're from like, you know, some type of military thing. But then again, I think Abel is French, so American's probably not correct, but it's always a blonde guy, a white blonde guy. Because I think Abel is French. Yeah, he's French. Well, it says he was raised in France. He wasn't born there, though. So who knows? Or in Street Fighter, you know what? I think the blonde American for Street Fighter 4 was actually Rufus. Now that I think about it. So yeah, I don't think it was Abel. I think it was Rufus. That was supposed to be the blonde American. I almost forgot that he was. Yep, he's American. Yep, there we go. So yeah, I think it was Rufus, blonde American. There we go. But yeah, I'm just curious on why that is. But yeah, if Luke wasn't added into Street Fighter V, then that would have initially been the case for him for Street Fighter 6. So I'm gonna count that anyway, just because that's his actual origin. I feel that Luke in Street Fighter V was like a tweaked Ken model, because he has the same pants as Ken, or like a similar, like just a streak design, but like just black with a streak on it. And then they probably just, you know, tweaked his model and all that to do what they needed. I do think his theme was way better in Street Fighter V, though. Street Fighter 6 theme just seems a little bit too, not tame, but just kind of mellow. Like, it's not really. It's like it's trying to be upbeat, but it doesn't like quite grasp me. It's not like hyping me up to fight as him. King Cobra and Hintaru, probably. Who knows? They probably tweaked a bunch of old character designs. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, because I'm sure a lot of older characters either evolved into a different character or eventually got in, but with tweaks to their design or whatever they were originally supposed to be. Because remember, Claw and Boxer from Street Fighter 1 eventually became, you know, Balrog and Vega, or Bison, or not Bison, or yeah, Bison and Balrog, however you want to go about it, about their names. But yeah, like, they got changed over time. Same thing for, well, Gen didn't really change, they just brought him over from that game. And then you have Birdie, who was originally from Street Fighter 1. I like Eagle, though. Eagle's a fun character. I'm just curious on what they're going to do after the initial DLC of certain characters. Because Street Fighter 6 takes place after 3, so I'm like, okay, should we be seeing Street Fighter 3 characters showing up now? Because I don't think anyone from 3 has been announced or shown. Minawa's gonna be a redheaded pizza girl. That would have been kind of cool. Yeah, Street Fighter 6 takes place after Street Fighter 3. Because timeline-wise, it goes Alpha, which is Street Fighter 0. So you get Alpha, 1, 2, then 4, 5, 3, 6. So now I'm just wondering if Street Fighter 3 characters are gonna start, you know, showing up again. It kind of sucks though, because Street Fighter 3 characters kind of got the bad rap of just being weird. And that's why they had to throw in Ryu, Ken, and Chun-Li. Because originally Street Fighter 3 was not going to have any of the characters from Street Fighter 2. But I guess people were a little confused and concerned about characters returning, so they tossed in Ryu and Ken. And then in Third Strike was when Chun-Li got added. And I think now they could probably make the characters way more unique than they could before. Because like Necro is like a mix of Blanca and Dhalsim put together. But they can definitely give him a different fighting style than just being like another Dhalsim that can use electricity moves. Like they can make him a less reaching type of Dhalsim, but like make his moves a little bit more bizarre. And he did have like grappling moves and stuff too. And he had that weird like spin elbow move that he had. So there are ways to make him interesting. It's just a matter of whether or not they're gonna do anything with him. Same thing for any of the other characters like Remy and Q. Q would be interesting because it's like they already tried to hint at something with G. So now I'm just wondering, like, alright, so you guys are teasing things, but I don't know if you're going to commit to any of it. Because it's one of those things where it's like, okay, did you guys just throw this in here just because it's nostalgia, or are you actually going to do something about it? Or do something with the idea. think that's like one of the harder things about games like that, is where you're trying to introduce something new, but you're also trying to keep older people interested, I guess would be the way to phrase it. Which can sometimes be hindering, because it's like you have all these ideas, but a lot of them get taken over by older characters. Because ever since Street Fighter 3, that's why the what was it, the original 8 the 8 World Warriors from Street Fighter 2, that's why they'll never not be in a game anymore, because of what happened with Street Fighter 3. Because originally Street Fighter 3 did not do well. Just mess with it. Yeah, because there's Street Fighter 3 and then Street Fighter Alpha 3. Because Alpha is just Street Fighter that takes place before Street Fighter 1. Because in Japan, Alpha is called Street Fighter 0. And you just have, you know, the 3 games, and then you have Alpha Max, or Alpha 3 Max, which I believe was only on PSP, but it has a few extra characters in it. And as far as I'm aware, they have yet to make a port of that game for some reason. Like, it's the last version of the game, but they don't use it. And it has like 3 extra characters in it, or 3 or 4 extra characters in it. Because I think Eagle, Ingrid, and I forget who the other 2 were. Let me take a look, because that's gonna get to me now if I don't think about it. Alpha 3 Max. Roster. "39 characters in the game." Here we go. So Ingrid was I guess Ingrid was the only one who was added for the PSP version. And I guess the other ones were... Oh, this is Alpha 3 Upper for the Game Boy Advance. So Eagle got added because he wasn't in the other versions. So yeah, it was Ingrid, Eagle, Maki, Yun? Really, Yun? Yeah, so it was those 4. Because if you count the GBA game as just another extension, and for Alpha 3 Max, then yeah, it was those 4. So yeah, for some reason they haven't ported Alpha 3 Max over at all. Yeah, because like I saw the when they announced the anniversary, I was like, oh, is Alpha 3 Max gonna be there? And it's like, nope, just goes all the way to Alpha 3. And I was like, why the hell are they not putting in Alpha 3 Max? It was like the most bizarre thing. Like, I don't even know if they like remember that they have Alpha 3 Max, or I don't know. If I ever had the chance to ask a Capcom person, like, hey, how come Alpha 3 Max isn't being ported to anything? I mean, probably just have to ask on like a forum or something, out of sheer curiosity. It's probably not as difficult as I'm thinking, but yeah, maybe I should just ask that question. Or hell, maybe even ask Maximilian, he might know. Or hold on, let me just type it in just to see if it even shows up. Why is Capcom avoiding Alpha 3 Max? I guess because Alpha Max wasn't in arcade. That might be the reason. As far as I can tell. So, I mean, that'd be weird if that was the reason, but that's a reason, I guess. I don't know if it's the reason, but it's a reason. Yeah, and that was just reading like a forum post. That wasn't from Capcom or anything. That was just people's guesses because the other versions had an arcade release, and the anniversary collections usually have like, or try to be arcade perfect in some way. But Alpha 3 Max was on PSP, and I don't know if there's like anything more to that. But then again, it wasn't from Capcom, so who knows what the actual reason is. So yeah, could be just like a thing where you just ask somebody on Twitter who works for Capcom and just see if they know the answer. More likely somebody that actually works on Street Fighter. And they might know the answer. Because I know one of the people at Street Fighter, like one of the directors, he's been like going through a lot of Capcom's old artwork and stuff like that and just posting them randomly. So who knows, maybe he might know why that is. Say, hey, what happened? Like, what happened to Alpha 3 Max? I like me some Eagle. He was really fun. I wonder if Ingrid will ever show up in another Street Fighter game, like mainline, since she was playable in Alpha 3 Max. But like Ingrid seems to be like this weird, like not necessarily a joke character, but more like a constant thorn and a reminder of like when Capcom games were going downhill. Because when they made what was it, Fighting Jam, that game was just a bunch of sprites from older Capcom games thrown together, but it wasn't like done very well in comparison to games like Marvel vs. Capcom. And then like Ingrid was like first playable in that game. Then there was that one Street Fighter game that got canceled where it was all in 3D. And I think it kind of played like Tekken if I remember right. And it had a few characters that never got to see a full release. But one of them was, I think, Luke. Well, a different character named Luke. And he just happened to have very, very similar design choices to the Luke that shows up in Street Fighter 5 and 6. Either his name was Luke or it was like Rook, but it was like almost the same character. But I think Capcom said that he was just a coincidence. They didn't intend for it to be for it to be a similar design. $800 Relento. Thank you. I'm trying. There's some parts of this I don't like, but I will fix them once I get this all ironed out. Mostly just getting in position stuff right now. Some of this I can move over though to make it make more sense. I do find it interesting that JP has Psycho power simply because he just wanted it. So he could have a similar perspective to Bison. Like, I don't know if it was a possibility of like Bison using JP's body or anything like that. It was just like, nah. Because he was like their accountant or something. And I was just like, huh, interesting. Yeah, this isn't turning out the way I'm thinking. Yeah, I think that was the problem, just the stomach. Well, I mean, that makes sense because Balrog basically raises him. Because Balrog found him in Street Fighter 4 when Ed was still a kid or a child, and decided to take him under his wing. And Ed would have looked so much cooler if they hadn't have just like they buffed him out way too much for some fucking reason. Because if you look at him in his story artwork in Street Fighter 5, he looks way better in the story mode than he does in the actual game. And like when he gets his alternate costume where he's just wearing the white hoodie, he looks way better that way. But all they really need to do is just slim him down. But they like made him way buff for some reason. He just like looked way too, not necessarily edgy, but just like, I don't. It was like they were trying too hard with Ed for some reason when they didn't need to. It's like just keep him slim, mix his fighting style with both psycho power and boxing because Balrog basically raised him. And then there you go. It's like not that complicated. So hopefully, when they bring him back in 6, they'll like try to fix all that. But who knows? They just gotta wait and see, I guess. But it's interesting that Ed is like the last character for the first season, or second to last, I think. Because I think Akuma might be. Yeah, I think Akuma's last. Well, yeah, because Balrog is like leaving the facility when it's like falling apart in Street Fighter 4, and he comes across a boy, which I think at first people thought was a girl, but he comes across a boy who has like Bison's mark on his hand, and then that's when he takes him with him, and then I guess he raises him or trains him, whatever you want to call it, and that's why he has the boxing style mixed with psycho power, because Ed was going to be another possible body for Bison. Which honestly, I'm kind of surprised Bison didn't just make another body or get another body at this point. Because it's like, because in Street Fighter 5 he has like the gray hair and all that, and he fights Ryu, blah 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 blah. And I'm just kind of like, I'm really surprised you went through all this effort to get like dolls, robot bodies, genetically engineered bodies, putting psycho power into various people. Some people could take it, some couldn't. You went through all of that effort and never actually took over a body or got a second body or something, or at least shown that he had influence over somebody who did have psycho power. Which, who knows, that could be Ed or any other character with psycho powers in the future. Like, who knows? They could probably have done that by now. But it's just kind of weird that they didn't really lean into that originally. They just showed that he was just collecting people and brainwashing them and stuff, and that was kind of it. And then Seth was basically just another body Bison was going to have, but then the AI in the body, or whatever the case may be, or case was, just went rogue. And then Seth from Street Fighter 5 was just another doll body, but it was like, because it was called Doll Zero, so it was basically just a engineered body. And that was just Seth's memory or mind being all corrupted while being in there, like it bugged out. So I was like, okay, so it's another body, and he even has the Bison costume to kind of further hint into that. But Bison himself never did anything with the whole needing a new body thing, which is just weird. It's like, huh, I figured he would have at least influenced somebody. I know Rose is supposed to be like Bison's other half or something like that. Like she's also part of the Psycho Power or some shit, and so she's a part of Bison. Like I know that's a thing, but I don't know what else happened with that. Maybe that's the reason why you couldn't skip bodies or something, is because of her, or who knows. Oh yeah, if I'm gonna do that, might as well. Yeah, this is gonna need a lot of tweaking. Morning, Alex. Honestly, the only problem with 5 was just it was kind of all for nothing type of situation. Seth as a woman was probably the best idea they ever did with Seth. Like I like that whole idea that Seth is just in another body, but he's like bugged out and just losing his shit. Like that was like probably the best redesign for Seth. He didn't just look like Abel, because again, Abel was supposed to be another body for Bison. Because Abel was supposed to be like another type of Seth. And again, you have all these potential bodies, and Bison does nothing with any of them. And I just don't understand what was the point. Unless like something in the comics covers why he never did anything, then I don't know, but it's just weird that he goes through all this effort to have several different bodies prepared and does nothing with them. And then Rose is just like another part of him. But that doesn't go anywhere, or it did briefly and then it just, went back to normal as Rose being a separate entity. Oh, do I still have Arknights on this thing? And then hopefully they bring back Remy, because his whole thing was trying to find his father. Which I think originally people thought it was Guile, just because Remy knew how to use something similar to Sonic Boom. Or even Charlie Nash. But we never got any resolution to that, unless it was covered in the comics or something. So hopefully if Street Fighter 6 adds in more characters from Street Fighter 3, hopefully we get some closure for some of that stuff. I do like the idea of Kage from Street Fighter V. I just hate how they initially designed him. It's like, oh, here's spiky-haired Ryu, and we're gonna give him big demon underbite teeth and some tiny horns. I was like, really? You guys went from evil Ryu, who looked amazing in Street Fighter 4, to this shittier version in Street Fighter 5? It's like, how did you even do that? Luckily, one of his alternate costumes kind of makes up for it by looking way better. But still, it was just like, I don't know how you guys managed to fuck that up. But then again, Street Fighter 5 is a weird case because it was when Capcom really couldn't afford, like, they were just in a really bad spot, and so Sony pulled them out of it. It almost feels like Street Fighter 5 was like the bare minimum, and they were just saving all their better ideas for Street Fighter 6. That's what it feels like, at least. And it's like they still tried with Street Fighter 5, like they tried to pull it out from whatever nonsense that it was towards the end. Like they still tried to make it a good game, but it feels like they only did what they had to, at least initially, and then tried to salvage it towards the end. Alright, anyway, enough of me blabbering about Street Fighter. I do want to play Sonic Superstars. I like that Knack the Weasel is coming back. Or Fang the Sniper, however you want to say his name. You could go through both. It could be like Knack is his real name and Fang is his like alias. Yeah, because it's in the classic universe. So classic Amy is what they're supposed to be using. Though if you register with their site, you can they're going to release a skin for her to look like the Sonic Adventure Amy. At least I think that's what it said. Let me check. Blah blah blah. It's not what I'm looking for. It's probably just easier if I just go on YouTube. Trailer. Da-da-da. Yeah, it just says exclusive Amy Rose skin. So it doesn't say if it's like the Adventure version, but the Adventure one is it was when they called her Amy Rose, so I don't know, because I think she was originally called Rosie the Rascal back then for the classic days, so who knows. But I'm assuming it's the Adventure version. What I'm curious now is if the update for Sonic Origins is gonna have Super Amy. Yeah, I think it's still neat. Either way. There was a clip somebody posted of Philia from Skullgirls, who apparently might be getting a Sonic skin, and when she does her supers, she'll turn, like, her color palette changes and she gets sparkles around her to make her look like she's Super Sonic. And I hope that's real because it looks fucking cool. I was like, oh shit, Philia gets a Sonic skin and it goes super. That's awesome. I need to play more Skullgirls. So much to do. Get my ass handed to me in that game because it's been so long since I've taken it seriously. Yeah. I'm glad they're adding Marie as both playable and to get her story, because they always said, well, Alex always said, Alex Zahad, the creator, he always said that in order to have like the actual story of the game, he needed all the characters that were being DLC to be playable. That's why when they first announced that that Skullgirls was getting DLC, I was like, it's gotta be all these characters. And sure enough, I was 100% right, because I remember Alex telling me that. I think the only one he didn't need was Annie. Because if I remember right, Annie wasn't initially part of the main story. But who knows, that could have changed since then. But yeah, I guess the entire DLC day one. I don't know if it was actually a guess since I pretty much knew what the case was going to be. But that's the benefits of being able to hang out with the people who made the game. God, I haven't seen them in years now. I think the last time I saw them was in 2017, if I remember right. I think that's the last time I saw it. Yeah, I'm curious on if they'll do a season 2. If they do, that would be awesome. I'll be very curious on who they add in at that point. Because they had like a lot of ideas. Like Isaac had the whole time replay mechanic. Then there's Panzerfaust. There's Samson, who is like who's either going to be an alternate reality version of what would happen if Samson took over Philia's body completely, or potentially could have been Double just fucking with everybody by pretending to be Samson, but that's like a big question mark. And he was supposed to play like Venom, but yeah, there's just like a whole list of characters to choose from. What was his name? The shark guy. I think his name was Stanley. He was gonna have like a giant proton cannon similar to Iron Man. So yeah, they have like a whole roster of choices to pick from. Hopefully, what was her name? I think it's Molly, the phone girl that's on Parasol's team. She has like her own like mech suit similar to Tron Bonne. So that'd be cool if she got in. I think her name is Molly. She does show it briefly in the game, and I think in the comic. that they're putting out right now. But I don't know the extent of that. I need to catch up on the comic. I like stopped when went right after Miss Fortune got away from Parasol the first time. I think the last time I glimpsed at it was when Black Dahlia was after the Fish Gang. And she was killing all of Miss Fortune's family members, or gang members. Well, I mean, I guess they're family. But yeah, she was killing all of the members. Yeah, Minot. Yeah, hopefully she gets in if they do another season. I would really like to have her in, because she's basically a role from Mega Man, the way that they described her back then. I don't know if they'll still do that idea with her, but she's definitely a fan favorite. I still have one of the first artworks of Robo Fortune that Alex drew for me, which I wasn't expecting on getting, because all that happened was that he was selling his art book, like the little art books that he was selling it, and I bought one, and then he asked me, "Oh, what artwork do you want me to draw?" And that caught me off guard, because I wasn't expecting him to do that. So I just said Robo Fortune off the top of my head, and he drew her along with multiple different heads, because originally the idea for her was that she was going to be able to swap out her head and do different attacks based on what head she was using. But then I think they later changed the idea to just her being able to have multiple heads that could just do different attacks without swapping. It was just more like she summons them. So yeah, I have like one of the first artworks of that character. Eventually I'll have to scan it in just so I have it on my computer. Yeah, like one of the heads was a Zaku from Gundam, so that would have been funny to have. I think another one was like a visor that kind of looked like Cyclops from X-Men. So she might have shot. That might have been what had her shoot lasers. But I think they just took all those ideas and just gave them to her naturally, so that way she didn't have to swap heads. And the only like remnants of her having the whole head idea was deploying those floating heads that she could use to shoot missiles and use as landmines. So I think they just, scrapped the whole having to give her multiple heads and trying to program that just so they can make it easier, which is fine. I'd probably do the same thing if I had to. It's like, yeah, we like this idea, but this is way too much. It's kind of like how Big Band was supposed to be a lot bigger originally, but he took up too much memory for the PlayStation 3 at the time, so they made him smaller. Same problem happened with Eliza, how originally her mechanic was supposed to be that every time she gets damaged, she would bleed all over the stage, and then you could make her blood do different attacks. So like you could come out as spikes and stuff like that. Kind of like what was his name? Was it Carmen? I think from Under Night and Birth. She was supposed to fight like that, but the PS3 couldn't handle it, so they had to scrap that idea. A lot of people got disappointed when that happened, because that was like one of the main reasons why Eliza got voted in, was because of that mechanic. But they couldn't do it. There was like a super early build of her where Mike Z was showing off how the blood was attacking, and like it wasn't like animated in spikes or whatever, but they just showed that she could command the blood to move and stuff like that. But yeah, they had to scrap it. Nowadays, they probably could pull it off, but I think they're just keeping everything to the limits. Now that I think about it, does the PS3 version have the newer characters and all that? I'd want to say yes. I don't see a reason why it wouldn't. Because it's still Second Encore. It's not like a new game. I wonder if they even can make a new version, like all like third stage or something, or third act. Unless there's some legal nonsense that would prevent that. Probably, because then it would probably be considered a new game or something. But who knows? Like I said, the last time I talked to anybody from the people, from the developers, was in like 2017. One of these days I'll probably go to one of their tournaments again. Just a matter of if and when. Yeah, I think I'll call it in another few 10 minutes or so. This is mostly just me trying to figure out where everything's gonna go before I place her. Because we still have Skylar over here. So yeah, I'll probably have to make this move bigger to accommodate for the other character. So Marcy will probably be like over here or something, or slightly in front of Skylar. I'll probably make her bigger too. So still a lot to work with. No worries. This is just kind of a random stream anyway. Let's put her tail leg over here somewhere. And then there was sound or music. Thank you. I was like, where is it? Oof. Yeah. That will be a problem if it doesn't get fixed properly. Hopefully it all works out. Yay! Just adding in some details. That's pretty much the most I can do with this particular pose. To make it look decent. I'll just add a little bit more pillow for here. Yeah, I always tend to keep making Marcy bottom heavy. Which I'm sure Skylar wouldn't complain about. He likes his big booty bitches. But nah, he likes that. He likes Marcy having his fat ass. Eventually, I want to do a comic of them just having like a date night. Maybe eventually I'll give Skylar more of a dad bod once he retires from his antics. Oh, I like a lot of things, but I definitely like the butt. I'm more all arounder. Like I like them all pretty much equally. No, that's not true. I probably favor some over others, but I think it just depends on the individual and not necessarily the body part. So it just depends on the person and how they're rocking it. Because on one end I have a friend who is very thick and she has a giant butt, and then on the other hand I have a friend who's more on the chunky side, and then I have another friend who's like slender and just has big boobs, and another one is just like average, like nothing oversized in any area, just pretty balanced. So it just depends on it just depends on who it is. And yes, a majority of my friends are women. There's only like 2 or 3 guy friends that I actually talk to, and that's it. The rest are women. Yeah. That's why I try to draw different body types and stuff like that. Because I like a lot of different things. So it just depends on how it's done and the person and all that. It's always interesting though how some of them have told me that guys have told them different things in forms of attractiveness. Like one person told one of them that's like, "Oh, I don't like women with big boobs." I'm just like, "Huh, okay," but like they would like make it like a negative on purpose, and I don't know if it was just like a really bad tactic to make it be like, those type of guys who will put down women by telling them like, no one's ever gonna want them except for them type of nonsense. So it makes me wonder if that was just like a really bad ploy to break them down mentally or something. And I'm just like, okay, it's fine if someone doesn't like big boobs, but you don't have to like make the other person feel bad about having big boobs. That just doesn't make sense. But that's why we appreciate women of all sizes. Especially the big and thick. So, all sizes are welcome here. I think this is about as I think this is the best I can for Marcy in this position. or at least the route that I want to go with this. Give it a little bit more for poking out. Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense to shame somebody for having a particular body type just because you don't like the body types personally. Like it confused me how that guys or other women in some cases would do that to another person. And like the only reason I could think of is that they're trying to hook up with the guy or girl, but they want to try to change them or something. Either they want to try to change them or they want to break them down mentally to make them think that no one's going to want them because of their body type except for the person who's technically bashing them on it. That's the only route I can think of, and I have seen guys do that. They'll treat their girlfriends like shit, and purposely tell them like, you know, like, oh, they're like, oh, you think anyone's gonna want you except for me, type of thing. Like they'll just break them down to the point where the women don't even want to try to find another relationship because they don't know if they're gonna have to go through the same nonsense all over again, so they just settle. Yeah. Makes an interesting comic if I ever were to do a comic of a relationship like that, but that happening in practice is just really messed up. Because people should not have to go through that. And then some people are just shitty for the sake of being shitty. Like there's like no reason behind it; they just are. Like there was one guy my friends would hang around, which I didn't understand why, because all he did was just be an asshole to them the entire time, but they wouldn't like stop hanging out with him. And it could be just because he was like not necessarily a childhood friend, but just like a guy they've known since like I think middle school or high school or something like that. I didn't meet him till way after the fact, but they just wouldn't not hang out with him, even though they always would tell me that he would do like shitty stuff to them and stuff like that, or you know, just do really stupid shit. And I'm just like, so why do you keep hanging out with him if you keep telling me all this stuff that he does? And they're just like, I don't know. And I was like, well, you're the one dealing with the problem, I guess. So I never understood that. Yeah, all I've learned is that a lot of this is just material for future character designs, but it really sucks that a lot of this happens in real life. Which you can see why it's kind of semi-easy to make some characters relatable. It's like, yeah, it's easy to relate because a lot of this stuff happens, and it's really unfortunate in a lot of cases. Or one of the worst ones is just like, you know, you're perfectly content doing the stuff that you're doing, but people try to make it seem like it's a negative. Like with me and drawing and stuff like that. Like for the longest time, people just assumed that because I drew that I didn't have like actual work or anything. They're like, oh, so-and-so, he doesn't work. And I'm like, yeah, I do. My job is drawing. But they never consider drawing as an actual job. So I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm in that era of mentality right now. So I just had to like sit there and take it. I'm just like, well, I already know what I'm doing, so yay. Oh yeah, because the hardest people to say no to are your own friends and family. So that definitely makes sense. yeah, like I had a friend whose boyfriend basically treated her like shit for years, and it wasn't until like I don't know 2015 or 16 or so that she finally had enough and no longer speaks to him. But like there were so many clear signs that she was broken up with him like a long ass time ago, and I just never understood why she like. And she even knew that it was a problem. Like she acknowledged that it was a problem, and she understood that it was a problem, and she knew every little aspect of it, even when he cheated on her multiple times. And she still kept going back to him, and I'm just like, okay, you know this is a problem. You even told me it's a problem. Why are you still doing it? And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? If somebody's burning you with a candle, are you just gonna sit there and say, oh, this hurts, but I'm gonna have to sit here and let them keep doing it? But I don't know. All right, so pretty much I think this is gonna be Marcy at this point. I might tweak it some more just so it looks a little close, a little better if I need to. But oh yeah, I put Skylar in here. So the idea is that basically she's gonna be in the forefront along with Mars, who's gonna be on the other side. Once I draw her, and I'll probably make Marcy bigger, and I'm gonna make this page bigger too. But the idea is that Skylar is going to be in the background as he brings more food for both Marcy and Mars. So yeah, this is definitely going to be bigger. Let me just do this right now. Canvas size. I'm just going to stretch this out, see how far this goes. Marcy can go about here. Skylar can go there. Here a bit, and then Mars can go on this side, so I can probably adjust this now. So tighten this up on her, and then Mars will go on this side, and I'll adjust the size when necessary. So yeah, that's a macro pick as well. I mean, I can always go into giant characters. I have more than enough of those too in the future. So yeah, like I said, there's tons of ideas I want to do. Just a matter of getting to them. Oh yeah, we can zoom in on Skylar for a moment. And I'll get there when I get there. Like I said, once I'm done with this commission and Blake's picture and Emerald's picture, I can start working on comics pretty soon after this. But yeah, I want to get back into doing comics and get through I Had To and Black Circus, and I can probably start working on the Archives comics pretty soon. So Caitlin will be the start of that, and then I'll move on to Lizzie. But yeah, I want to start getting those pushed out as soon as I can. Is my giant wife. Yeah. But anyway, thank you for joining me for this short stream. I'm just gonna stream again tomorrow, same time. Depending on what I'm working on, we'll decide if it's gonna be here or Picardo. If I end up working on the Blake pick, then or anything with nudity, honestly, then it'll be on Picardo. If not, then it'll just be Twitch again. But yeah, thank you again for coming, and I will probably get started on the Mars half of this pick later tonight, so I can crank that away, because I think once I get past the coloring part of all this, then the rest will be pretty easy after that, because obviously the food is going to take us a bit of time because all the different colors and all that. But yeah, I will do my best for this last commission, and then I will do my best to start pumping out more stuff. Thank you everybody for being extremely patient with the hiatus on comics, because I know that's been stressful At least for me. I don't know if any of you guys are really worried about it. You're probably just like, he's working on commissions. We're still getting fat art, whatever. We don't care. But for me, I'm just sitting there going like, oh my god, it's been so fucking long. Why am I still doing commissions? I need to work on comics. So I'm probably stressing out about it more than you guys are. But that's just my mentality of it all. Anyway, yeah, thank you for coming, and I will see you guys again tomorrow. All right, take care, everybody. Bye bye.